Ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah appears to be holding and sparking new hope for the possibility of peace in Gaza. Right now, thousands of residents displaced by the fighting are heading back to their homes in southern Lebanon as the truce brings a pause to the bloodshed that's now been going on for more than a year.
Yeah, over the next 60 days, Israeli forces are expected to withdraw from Lebanese territory while Hezbollah fighters have to retreat from the Israel-Lebanon border. Let's bring in CNN's Nick Robertson, who is live for us in Jerusalem, as well as Arlette Saenz, who's traveling with President Biden in Nantucket, Massachusetts. First, let's get to you, Nick. What comes next now for both sides now that this deal is in place?
Yeah, here in Israel, I think there's obviously going to be a respite from the Hezbollah rockets and drones that really become, over the past couple of months, brought a changed reality to the people of central Israel and the north, who really hadn't been under this much rocket fire before. 78 people were killed during the period, 779 people injured. And in the north, well, in Lebanon, there are more than 3,000 killed, more than 13,000 injured. So for both sides, there's a pause in that loss of life. There's a pause in all the injuries. In both communities, north and south of the border, there will be rebuilding. I think there's a greater level of excitement on the Lebanese side for people, because there's more than 1 million people displaced there, to get to their properties close to the border with Israel. That's going to take a little while. Probably not everyone getting back until the Israeli forces, the IDF, pulls out completely. And I think on the Israeli side, for moving north, it's about 60,000 people that are expected to go back to their homes. But I think there's going to be a greater degree of hesitancy on the Israeli side, because there really isn't, among many people who live in the north, a great degree of confidence that this new deal, this new ceasefire, is that much different to the one 18 years ago that the Israeli government hammered out with Hezbollah, because people aren't confident that the UN and the Lebanese army, who are supposed to be moving into place, who are supposed to keep Hezbollah back, there's a low degree of confidence that over time that is actually going to work. But I think, where does it go from here? The Prime Minister says that he wants to focus on Iran, and he wants to give the troops a chance to rest. There are troops obviously still in combat in Gaza, and that raises the question you mentioned about a ceasefire there. We're not seeing any political moves at the moment towards a ceasefire in Gaza. So I think really it's rest and recuperate for the troops, re-equip for the troops, and focusing on the occupied West Bank. This is where the Prime Minister seems to be turning his attention right now.
Yeah, and also pivoting some of his focus at least to Iran, as he said yesterday. Nick Robertson live in Jerusalem for us. Thank you so much, Nick. I want to go to CNN White House correspondent Arlette Saenz now. Arlette, we heard President Biden yesterday draw a direct line between this Israel-Hezbollah deal and his efforts to secure a ceasefire and hostage deal in Gaza. What are we hearing from President Biden as the ceasefire appears to now be holding?
Well, Boris, President Biden certainly and his team believe that, or are hoping that this ceasefire agreement in Lebanon could be a game changer, could potentially push forward efforts to try to secure a hostage and ceasefire deal in Gaza. It comes as President Biden yesterday said that they would be renewing a push to try to secure such a deal, working with countries like Israel, Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey to try to hammer out some type of agreement. Earlier today, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said that they really view this as a fresh opportunity because in the United States' eyes, they believe that the ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon really further isolates Hamas, that perhaps this could push Hamas back to the negotiating table as talks to try to achieve a ceasefire deal in Gaza have really stalled out over the course of the past few months. Now, for President Biden, he's expressing a lot of hope that they might be able to achieve that type of ceasefire and hostage release deal in Gaza. But there are many questions whether that is just wishful thinking or if they can actually turn this into a reality. We know that the president's Middle East coordinator, Brett McGurk, was in Saudi Arabia yesterday to talk about this ceasefire deal in Lebanon, but also the potential for it to unlock negotiations relating to Gaza. But as you heard Nick talking about there so far haven't been any political moves from Israel relating to a ceasefire deal in Gaza. But for President Biden, having the ceasefire in Lebanon, for him, it really is an effort to restore calm in at least one front of this multifaceted war. President Biden argued yesterday that it shows that peace is possible. He said he'll be dedicating his remaining time in office to trying to secure peace on other fronts in the Middle East. And then there's also the factor of President-elect Donald Trump. We know when President Biden met with Trump in the Oval Office just about 2 weeks ago, the two talked about this conflict in the Middle East, specifically trying to get those American hostages back home. The hostage families have been urging for the two sides to work together. So we will see whether there will be any type of coordination in the coming weeks, as President Biden is quite hopeful that he can try to finish off this deal, try to get those loved ones back home before he leaves office.
Yeah, clearly a point that he's passionate about, as he repeated that refrain yesterday that peace in the Middle East is possible. Arlette Saenz live for us in Nantucket. Have a happy Thanksgiving.